What's up, Metal Summoners? It is so great to see all of you guys. We really appreciate you guys rocking out with us, supporting the show, supporting live music, all of the guests that grace us with their presence and come on to talk shop, talk about everything they've got going on and what their plans are for the future. We really, really appreciate you guys always rocking out. I want to give a quick shout out to all of you Metal Summoners that popped on with us earlier this afternoon when we were talking to Sammy Lee from Red Rain. Want to again thank him so much for coming on and rocking out with us to the first part of our doubleheader that we had tonight. But that was before, and this is right now. So we're going to get right into everything. On behalf of Angel, we are bringing in the great Joey Cassata. Joey, first and foremost, man, thank you so much for joining us. We also want to introduce all of our Metal Summoners to Dawn from Hey All You Rockers Out There. She's going to be joining us as well for tonight's episode. And we will have the ever so toothy, the real Psycho Steve will be joining us in a little while as well. But again, Joey, thank you so much for some of your evening, my friend. We really appreciate your time and welcome to the Metal Summit.
Guys, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on. And I got to tell you, this is way better than having Psycho Steve. I'd much rather do it like this. So if he gets backstage, don't let him on.
Hey, that's fine. We can definitely make that a thing. We'll allow it. We'll let Angel hold it down with the lock on the jail cell just for Steve.
Perfect. Yeah. Guys, seriously, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
No, 100%. Absolutely, man. Joey, first and foremost, man, when you're getting into music, you know, we have a lot of cool things that we're going to talk to you about around Kiss and all this kind of stuff that all ties into part of this question. There's also a segment I'm going to kick it over to Dawn in a little bit. That's going to be a little bit of fun as well. But start us off with how you got into music. It's very, very well documented how much Kiss means to you, but there also had to be a start to yourself and your journey in music.
Yeah, again, my start is basically still where I'm at. It starts, begins, ends, middles with Kiss. I was 5 years old. I saw Kiss at Madison Square Garden. Didn't even know what I was going for. My brother and my mom were going. My brother was a Kiss fan. I had no idea what Kiss even was. Got to Madison Square Garden. Didn't even really understand that it was a concert. I'm 5 years old. Didn't understand what was even happening. Lights went down. All of a sudden, you know, that You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best came on. And then, you know, for the next hour and a half, I was just mesmerized by not only what I was seeing, what I was hearing, what I was feeling. So it was a surreal experience and really a life-changing experience for me, because from that moment on, my life is been all about music. It's been about playing the drums. You know, I saw Peter Criss that night. I saw him go up on his drum riser, and I knew, God, I have to do that one day. There was no chance that anything could stop me from, you know, getting up there one day. So that's where, you know, my musical story began. 5 years old, Madison Square Garden, seeing Kiss.
That's awesome, man. And when it comes to ZO2, of course, a lot of fans that are going to be familiar with it, this story, due to being fans of your band, but also fans that are now learning about this for the first time. Your first big tour, if not your first big tour, was with Kiss and Poison. And you yourself, based on that 5-year-old part of you and an initiation to the Kiss Army, I mean, being a part of that tour as your first big one had to be an incredibly surreal experience.
Oh, I mean, surreal is the perfect way to say it. It was almost 25 years to the day. I saw Kiss Madison Square Garden, 1979, and 25 years later, I opened up for Kiss June of 2004. So it was an incredible, you know, kind of full circle moment for me. You know, I worked obviously there's a lot of stuff in between there. You know, I didn't just see Kiss and then jump on tour with Kiss. So, you know, there's a lot of hard work and determination and struggles and failed record deals and, you know, bands that failed and all this other stuff that happened between, and the grunge years and so much stuff that went on between. I just kept persevering through it all. And, you know, we formed ZO2 in 2002. And, you know, we were trying to get a record deal, didn't really get anything. We got a couple little bites here and there, but we decided, you know what, the hell with it. It's kind of like what I still do today. You know, when you don't get something you want from a big company or a big organization or a record label or a publisher or whatever it's going to be, fuck them, go out and do it yourself. So we did that with our first record. ZO2 put out their first records Tuesdays and Thursdays. fully self-funded. We put all the money on our credit cards, funded the whole record, released it. We had no idea what the hell we were going to do with it, but we knew, you know what, let's just do it. We know we had these great songs. We knew we had chemistry. Let's just put this first record out. And it must have been about 3 months into that record, Paul Stanley got a hold of the record from Kiss, and it just so happens that the band that they were supposed to be touring with, so it was supposed to be Kiss, Poison, and if you guys remember Nikki Sixx's old band, Brides of Destruction.
Brides of Destruction. Yeah, I was actually a big fan of that band.
They were going to be on that tour with Kiss and Poison. Now, some people say they got thrown off the tour. Some people say they left the tour. We don't care what happened because we got the call, at the 24th hour, and Paul was like, hey, he called our manager up and he said, hey, do you think your boys would be up for, a summer tour? And what are you going to say to that? You got to say yes, right? So we didn't know what the hell that even meant. We rented an RV, threw some luggage in it and threw some gear in it, and we were off.
That's awesome for sure. Love it, Joey. I got a couple of real quick CO2 points before I kick it up to the rest of the family and we'll let them take it away. First and foremost, would love to just hear how, ZO2 got started. Of course, we've got Paulie and our absolutely beloved late David, who I personally loved. He and I were very tight, and I wish he was still with us to this day. But please let us know how you guys all came together for the formation of ZO2.
So again, everything, this is going to be the common theme and thread throughout this whole interview. Everything goes back to Kiss.
Sure.
So I was in, late 90s. I'm in a lot of different bands, some alternative bands. I'm on a few indie labels with different bands, in and out of indie labels. And the music business was really just getting to me after a while. I was almost 30 at this point, and, I've been on labels, off labels, and it just seemed like a grind, and it was very business-like to me. And it was lawyers, and it was contracts, and it was really stuff that I really wasn't having fun with anymore. So I decided one day, I picked up the Village Voice. I lived in Manhattan, picked up the Village Voice, just started looking through it to see what I could find that would spark my interest. And I saw something that I just thought was like fate, too good to be true. It said Kiss Tribute Band looking for Eric Carr drummer to be to tour and blah, 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 all this stuff. So I'm a big Eric Carr fan. Of course, I'm a big Peter Criss fan. He's the person I idolized the most growing up because he was the one that made me want to play the drums. But he was gone from Kiss, almost right after that first concert. So I grew up with Eric Carr as the drummer for Kiss. And, when I saw that ad in the paper, I answered it, went down, and it just so happens that the singer for that Kiss tribute band was Paulie Z. And so Paulie Z and I kind of clicked, and we had some chemistry. Obviously, we hung out with Dave all the time. He was always around. Started writing, starting to just jam a little bit. Nothing ever even serious in mind. And it just started clicking. And I'm a firm believer of that's how things happen. It's fate. It's by circumstance. It's happenstance. However you want to say it. Things just gel together sometimes at the right moment, at the right time, because you're doing things you love. So, don't force an issue. Don't try to jam a square peg into a round hole. Do what you love. Keep doing it. And eventually stars align. So that's kind of how ZO2 got formed.
Very cool, man. Absolutely. And final question from this segment before I bring in Dawn and Angel. Next weekend, not this weekend, but, next weekend is the M3 Festival. Angel and I will be there covering it as we always are, and we have a couple of interviews already lined up. But you are an alumnus of the M3 Festival with ZO2 and would just simply love to hear a little bit about what you remember about that weekend.
Oh, M3. I mean, I've been to a couple of M3s. I played at a couple of M3s. M3 is always great. It's a spectacular event. I think the year that ZO2 did it, there was still some different stages. It wasn't just all one stage. So, we were hopping around from band to band and hanging out with all the bands backstage. And it was just, those big festivals are so much fun because not only do you get to see and play with all the bands you grew up with and that you love, but over the years, they've all become friends of ours now. So, at that time, I believe, maybe I'm jumping ahead, but I think Z-Rock was already on the air. So we're kind of a happening new band at this point. So a lot of the musicians and old school guys backstage were big fans of ZO2 and our TV show, which I'm sure we'll get into. And, So it was a surreal moment, kind of being there, playing with all of our idols, and then kind of hearing from them that they were fans of ours. So M3 is always a fun time. I'm sure you guys have been there, and
Yeah.
you're gonna have a great time. I wish I was going this week. I know my boy Steve Brown is going. He's doing some acoustic stuff with my other great buddy Pete Evick.
Yep.
So they're gonna be tearing it up. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Definitely, man. Absolutely, for sure. So, Dawn, as our guest of this particular episode, Angel, can you blow her up to the big picture for me, buddy? Dawn, let's kick it over to you and let you take it away for a little bit. Thank you so much for taking a little time out of your evening, and also to yourself. Welcome to the Metal Summit, and I hope you had as good a time at Rockin' Pod as we did.
I did. First of all, thanks for having me, and thanks for asking me to come on. First of all, I want to introduce Joey. It's Joey Cassata. So it's a funny story. It's too long to get into, but way back, had this other podcast, Two Girls and Alcohol. And so I'm like, we got to introduce Joey because he has a powerful last name. It's Joey Cassata. So wherever I went, they're like, you're the girl that says Joey Cassata. I should have had shirts made. I would have probably been a millionaire by now, but I didn't. But I might think about that. So Joey Cassata, hello. And also, I want to, congratulate you on your new book. And also, wait, I want to show you this. All right, ready?
Whoa! This is a unveiling right now. We better
hope
it's
a big moment for me.
It better be the right book, Dawn. You might have been drunk when you were ordering it. That could be anything.
I think I was sleeping 3 a.m, but you know what? Let's open this bad boy up.
Guys, I'm sure if you hung out with her at Rockin' Pod, there's some fun stories I'd love to hear.
Our M3 Rock Festival. But I'm actually not going this year, but oh, look at the beautiful cover.
Is it the hardcover?
Ready? I got Joey Cassata's new book. Came last night, actually. But I wanted to open up on the Metal Summit. Look how beautiful.
Very nice. Thank you so much for getting it.
So I ordered it, right? And then after I ordered it, Joey posted, if you want an autographed book, and I didn't get that. I missed that memo. But hopefully you'll autograph this for me. So go on Amazon and get Joey Cassata's new book. I can't wait to read it. So I don't sleep well. I'm sleep deprived. So I'm sure I can read this whole book tonight.
Listen, there's an audio book too. So if you're not up to reading, I'm not sure. I don't see you as a big reader for some reason. So that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying. I feel like you're more of an audiobook girl.
I am. Remember you read to Mindy and I. So yeah, I am actually.
See?
But I am going to read this. I love Kiss, and I'm enamored by the whole meaning behind it. So I will read this book. So if you're out there, go on Amazon to get Joey Cassata's new book.
Amazing.
It's amazing. So yeah, so I'm excited. So I got to hang out with Angel. Are you still on there?
Angel? Yeah, I'm still here.
Hello. Angel and I hung out at Rockin' Pod. And honestly, if it wasn't for Joey Cassata, I wouldn't have gone there. Because way back when I had my other podcast, Joey recommended it, and I went and I loved it. So it was a good time. It's a good time. It was a good time, just like meeting everybody, podcasting. I was hanging out with people from Sirius XM Radio. So it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get to Rockin' Pod for years, and it just always conflicts with something I'm doing. I got to get out there. Chris is a good friend of mine that runs it. I wish I can get it. I wish I can get out there.
With him.
Yeah.
And ironically, they put me front stage in front of everybody. My table was set up front stage, like right in front of everything.
That's
so
great.
I went out there to visit friends, and I brought my sister with me, and she's never been to Nashville, so we did like a little vacationing, and I met some of my artist friends that live out there. So it was a lot of fun, and I hung out with Angel, so it was a good time. It was a good time.
Yeah,
very good time. So here I am on the Metal Summit. Is Steve Fressap on here yet?
Steve, not yet. I'm pretty sure he's driving. You see, Steve is a safe driver. He drives below the speed limit, so it's going to take him about another few hours to get home.
That's all right. Like I said, leave that ugly mug off this episode.
Yeah, no, he's already messaged on the chat for the episode that he'll be on soon, assuming that Joey and Angel let him.
Well, here's a little thing. So, can you guys see my shirt? I don't think you guys can see it. Do you see what my shirt says?
Kiss.
I wore this for Joey Cassata, right?
Right.
My Kiss shirt. And now Steve's like, you can go topless on there and take your clothes off. You know, Steve press up. He's crazy. Are you? I know, right? You ready?
Uh-oh.
Woo!
Oh, nice.
I got my toddler shirt on. Do you remember this, Joey?
The ZO2 shirt, of course.
So I love this shirt, and it's a funny story. So I was at the cutting room, right? And I always wanted to get a ZO2 shirt, and obviously Joey was there, and they had like a few shirts left. So I'm like, I'll take this one, which is this one. The lady's like, oh, I think that's a little small for you. You know, I said, no, I'm going to take that one. So I took it, and Joey, I went downstairs because like Constantine was down there, whatever. And I went into the green room and I threw this shirt on, and it's like a toddler shirt. It's like
Yes.
a toddler size. I love this. I love this shirt. I love it. Isn't it cool? I love it. And Joey signed it, so I love it. I've never watched it yet.
That was a fun caricature shirt of we had done. God, I don't even remember. Maybe the third album. I'm not sure when we did that, but that was fun. Yeah.
I love this shirt, and I don't wear it that much because I don't want to wash it and wash your like autograph off. But when I do wear it, I get so many compliments on this shirt. I'm like, this is a toddler shirt. They're like, what? Because it's like a little tight, you know, but it's cute. I like it. I like the sleeves on it. It's cute. All right. Hello?
I'm here. Definitely want to talk about the book. How long did it take you to write this book?
So the book, it's called The Order of the Rose. Obviously, there you go, Dawn. It's a fantasy novel, but it's based on, if anyone knows, and they're big fans of Kiss.
Yes.
Kiss did a concept album back in 1981 called Music from the Elder. Now,
The Elder,
there are many fans that love Music from the Elder. There's many fans that hate Music from the Elder. But it is a very polarizing record. It's a concept record. And with that record, there was a very, very loose concept behind the songs and a little bit of a story. And for years, so many Kiss fans always wanted to see, it was supposed to be a movie or a play, or, you know, it's called Music from the Elder. So it was always supposed to be, whether it's a movie or play or some kind of theatrical production. We never got a hold of it because their album wound up flopping. So, you know, years later, it was always something that I wish I could have read and seen what this album and movie could have been. So just like everything else, you know, Gene and Paul back in the day always said they wanted to form the band that they never got to see. And that's why they formed Kiss. So a lot of the stuff that I do in my life, I wind up doing just because I know I'm never going to get to see it unless I go out and do it. So, you know, I kind of based this book. It's just inspired by The Elder. I took the kind of the loose concept of The Elder with the songs and the kind of the flow of the record and built a fantasy novel around it, as what if this could have been the movie from that Kiss concept album, The Elder. So it's a hit or miss. Listen, I get it. It's a niche market, but it's something where, you know, I didn't know if fans were going to gravitate towards it. I didn't know if anyone would care about it, because I cared about it. I wanted to not only write it, but I wanted to read this. I like to hear the story myself as I'm reading it. I'm like, oh yeah, this could work. This could work. And the response has been overwhelming. It reached the top 10 on Amazon in fantasy novels, and that market is very, very competitive. There's hundreds and hundreds of books being released weekly on Amazon in that fantasy realm. And, you know, my book hit number 8 on there the first week it came out, which was about a week and a half ago. And it's doing incredibly well. And like I was telling Dawn, the audio book too, because I do realize there's a lot of Kiss fans. I have the book right here too. You know, it's a 350-page book. It is it's a pretty easy read, but it still is. It's an undertaking, right? I understand there's a lot of non-readers out there. A lot of people love to digest podcasts now, and they love to digest interviews, whether they're in the car or at work or cutting their grass, whatever it is. So, I put together an audiobook too, and the audiobook has some elder music behind it, featured by this band called the Ancient Door, who kind of reimagined the album The Elder. They were kind enough to let me use some of their music on the audiobook. So if you're a little bit weary about reading a book, check it out as an audiobook. It's available on Audible, it's on Amazon, it's on you have that little books app on your iPhone. You can download the audiobook right there. Check it out.
Awesome. And just definitely just curious, like how long did it take you to actually get the book done?
It's funny. So this is actually my fifth book. So I've been writing books for the last few years. And, the hardest part for me, that first book that I wrote, which was my autobiography, was I self-publish everything, was formatting it and doing the artwork for it and figuring out the spacing and the margins and all that stuff. That's the stuff that was the hardest part for me. But now I kind of have that like the back of my hand. I understand exactly the formatting of what it needs to be. So I started writing this book back in October when I was hired by a KISS convention called KISS Cancer Goodbye by my good friend Neil Davis. He put a band together to do The Elder live, which has really never been done before. And it was me, Todd Kearns from Slash's band, Zach Throne from Jerry Cantrell's band, Tyson Leslie from Vixen, Jeremy Osbrock from Ace Frehley's band. We all got together, and with one rehearsal, and that's a pretty daunting task because that's a big album. It's a lot of theatrical production. One rehearsal, we did The Elder live. And from learning that back in October, it really got me into The Elder even more than when I was a kid. And it kind of inspired me. So to answer your, long way around to answer that question, I started in October. I finished around February. So, about 4 or 5 months-ish, somewhere around that area.
Cool. And just another question, because we're both drummers, we're both KISS fans. And I remember just curious to know about your feelings when Eric Carr came into the band, because when Eric Singer came in to replace Eric Carr, I was pissed. Like I was a teenager, but you know what? The band had to move on, and no matter who was in that spot, I was going to hate them for 5 minutes, but then I started liking Eric Singer. So just curious to know about your feelings.
So obviously when Eric Carr came into the band, like I said, it was shortly after I started my fandom of KISS. So Eric joins the band in 1980. I saw KISS for the first time in 1979. So even though Peter Criss was the one that started me on the drums, Eric Carr is what I grew up with. He was my idol growing up because he was my go-to on all the new KISS albums that would come out every year. So, when I heard The Elder was actually my first record that I ever bought with my own money. So, with the first time I heard Eric Carr on The Elder and on Creatures, I was blown away. His drumming is bombastic. It's what I kind of modeled my drumming after all these years later. So, Eric growing up for me was the king. He was my go-to guy. And of course, like you said, when Eric Singer replaced him, it was a hard pill to swallow. But luckily, I got to see Eric Singer on the Paul Stanley solo tour. And I was already a big Eric Singer fan because he was in that band Badlands with Jakey Lee. So I was already a big Eric Singer fan because I loved the way he played on the Paul solo tour. I loved Badlands. So it was a little easier for me to accept when he replaced Eric. Listen, no one could ever replace Eric, especially when a band member dies. You can't replace that member. So I never thought of him as replacing Eric. I just thought of him as taking over where Eric left off. So it was okay. I understood everything had to move on. Loved Revenge. Loved everything Eric did after that.
And just curious, how are those two drummers different? Eric Carr and Peter Criss.
I mean, believe it or not, and Eric Singer too. They're all three very different drummers. Just different styles. Drumming. Everyone can say, oh, it's just the drums. You play the beat and blah blah blah. It's the same song. That's the biggest crock of shit out there. Drums is such a stylistic thing. especially, you know, when you go from Peter Criss to Eric Carr, their styles are very, very different. Peter is all about that shuffle and swing and that feel that he had, that kind of, he almost had this Keith Moon type of chaotic, frantic energy behind the kit when he played live. And Eric was different. Eric was more of a rock drummer. He was he was that, came from that Bonham school. So they were very different drummers, but they both, I think, brought their own style to Kiss, and they made their incarnations of Kiss what they were. Early 70s Kiss is not that sound without Peter. Peter is essential to that sound back then. Just like Eric Carr, I think, is essential when he takes over for Peter Criss in 1980 and 81 and 82 and all throughout the Unmasked years. He's essential to the tone of those years. I don't think Eric Carr would have worked in 1975, and I don't think Peter would have worked in 1985.
Wow. Cool. I'm going to kick it right back up to you, Jay.
Absolutely, brother, for sure. Joey, let's have a little bit of fun in TV land. And before we go to the TV show that we've already discussed, let's talk about something that me and my wife hold very dearly, that I know you hold very dearly, and that is wrestling. So let's tap a little bit into Joey Licious, man. And how did you get into wrestling? I mean, both myself and Megan are big, we're big wrestling old school fans. She grew up with the Undertaker and that. I'm an old Ultimate Warrior and Surfer Sting style guy. That's
Sure.
how I kind of got into everything. And currently right now we're super big, we love mommy, we're big Rhea Ripley people. But how did you get into wrestling? And did you watch WrestleMania last weekend?
So I watched part of it. I'll talk to you about that at the end. But so wrestling, same type of thing as drums for me. It was a little later. I was now 10 years old, 1984. I go to Madison Square Garden and I got to see Hulk Hogan win the title against the Iron Sheik. Hogan's first title reign in the WWF. So,
Wow.
I was hooked as a little kid. My parents broke up when I was little. I never had that male role model. I always thought to myself that most of my personality is based off of whether it's Paul Stanley's stage raps and, Macho Man Randy Savage promos. So you blend those two together, you kind of get my personality. So those were my role models growing up. I would watch wrestling on WWOR TV, Channel 9 in New York. Every single Saturday morning, it was my go-to, and that I became hooked on wrestling. So my whole life was wrestling and drums, parallel, two different universes, but equal passion for both of them. And I was a really, really big kid when I grew up. I was probably 5'9", 150 pounds in the 5th grade. So I'm a monster kid. And my friends always thought, oh my God, you're going to be the next Andre the Giant. You're going to be Hogan. You're a monster. You're a shoo-in to become a wrestler. So sure enough, next year, I basically stopped growing. I'm about 5'11" now. So I kind of stopped growing, gained a little bit more weight, but never reached that giant height that I thought I was going to be in, that monster wrestler. So, my path kind of was picked for me. I would have pursued both of them equally. But, obviously the size difference and stuff like that, I wind up going the rock star drums route, where I easily could have gone the wrestling route. And that's kind of where the wrestling with Joey Licious comes in. Wrestling with Joey Licious is, what if that parallel universe went the other way? So instead of me becoming a drummer and pursue my dreams through music, what if I went the wrestling route? Yeah. And that's really what Joey Licious is. Joey Licious is very, very based on my real life. Obviously, there's shorts all over the internet of me with Roddy Piper and Jimmy Snooker and Mick Foley and the Iron Sheik and so many of the legends from back in the 80s. And I have 2 books based on it. I just released another audio book, Wrestling with Joey Licious, with some great superstars involved in that. So, it's my parallel universe. What if Joey didn't become a drummer and he became a wrestler?
Right on, man. Absolutely. Have you had a conversation have you been able to have a conversation either professionally or just solidly casually with Chris Jericho, since he's kind of the parallel of that wrestler in one life and rock star in another?
Oh my God, of course. So Chris and I, we go way back. I'm sure we'll get to it, but Chris was on an episode of Z-Rock,
Yes.
and that's when we first met. And like you said, our worlds are almost identical. He loves the same stuff I love, and I love the same stuff he loves. So we hit it off right away. Same type of personalities, bull busting personalities. Wrestling fan, major rock and roll fan. So when I did this wrestling with this Joey Licious character on Z-Rock, that's kind of where it spanned from. After that, it just blossomed into this alternate reality series.
So awesome, man. And when it comes to Z-Rock, how did that get started? And also a part of that show, because there's so much we can get into when it comes to Z-Rock alone that we won't have time for tonight. But one of the things that I personally kind of wanted to focus on is I loved the episodes that dealt around John Popoff being just a dick. So how did Z-Rock get started, get going with that? Because again, that's a very unique situation, especially for a band like yours. And then what do you remember about John's episodes? Because he just in like wrestling terms, like just what a rat.
So, again, long story short, Z-Rock was based on our real lives.
Mm-hmm.
For people out there who don't know of Z-Rock, Z-Rock was a TV show on IFC. We got 2 seasons. The concept of the show is basically a rock band at night, a kids band during the day. And it wasn't a reality show. It was a scripted comedy, but it was loosely scripted. And, it was all based on our real lives. For years, even during the KISS tour, to pay the bills, we weren't making a lot of money. Opening bands don't make a lot of money. So to pay the bills, we would do little kids' birthday parties and bar mitzvahs and communions and christenings and whatever we could get our hands on, we would entertain little kids. And from that, just so happens an agent from one of the biggest agents in the country, William Morris, saw us and said, "Hey, you guys have something very unique here. We need to have you come with us. We need to get you guys on TV." So sure enough, about, a year later, we're filming our own TV show. We never thought 3 morons from Brooklyn would have their own TV show, but, it turned out to be IFC's #1 rated comedy. The first season that it came out, we had guest stars galore from Joan Rivers and Gilbert Gottfried and Dave Navarro, Dee Snider, and of course you mentioned Mr. John Popper. So, the guest stars we got on our show weren't the people that you would automatically think would be on a comedy show. And that's
Sure.
almost the beauty of it. So someone like John Popper, even us, the producers, we got John Popper to be on it. We don't know if John Popper can act. We don't know if he's funny. We don't know if because everyone that came on the show played an exaggerated version of themselves. And, they had to make fun of themselves in a way and kind of be over the top of who they really are. And, when we gave John the first script, we didn't know if he was going to say, "Are you crazy? I can't do this." But John was unbelievable. He was one of the funniest people we've ever met on set. He was so sharp and quick and witty, and he was just great to have around. And he was one of the stars of the show for both seasons.
Oh, that's awesome, man, for sure. Metal Summoners, I want to let you guys know that we've got Joey for about 10 more minutes because we want to respect his time. So any questions, comments that you guys want to get in on, make sure that you guys are putting them into the comments so that we see them and we can ask Joey any of your questions. Dawn, I don't know if we have you still on connection, but I just wanted to check in with you. But Angel, let's kick it up to you, my friend.
Yeah, the question is, what's coming up for you? Are you working on any new records or new books?
So again, always tons of stuff in the works. I'm down in my studio right now as my drums. You can see all the way in the back here. Just recorded some new stuff a couple of days ago. I can't tell you what it's for yet, but it'll be coming out soon. Obviously, I don't know if you guys know, I did the last Ace Frehley record. I played drums on the last Ace Frehley record. Funny enough, everything, like I said, always winds up coming back to KISS. Tomorrow night, I'll be at the Cutting Room in New York City. Special event for the Raven Drum Foundation. Peter Criss is being honored with a special award, and I'll be playing some music and some songs with Peter. It's going to be an incredible night.
Don, we got you back.
I have no idea what happened. It just, I don't know, cut off. I have no idea. I don't know.
Got you. Nah,
I
no,
heard everything now. I just couldn't see myself. It's
gotcha.
all about Joey. It doesn't matter.
No worries. Joey, just out of curiosity, I mean, of course, a lot of bands know that there's a difference, of course, between like studio when you're recording records for an album as opposed to playing live. We know that, Scott has been the drummer when it comes to the Ace Frehley live band. And as far as I know, that's still going to be the situation next week at M3. Was there or is there any possibility of you actually playing in Ace's band, or was this just a studio project that you were involved in at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's that's just the way the music business is. Steve Brown obviously produced that Ace record. Steve and I work together really well. He's worked with me in the past. He knows I can deliver tracks really quick and really easy for him. As far as the live situation, Scotty's incredible. He's been with Ace, on and off forever. Ace knows if he ever needs someone, I'm here. Last time I jammed with Ace, which was last year at Kiss Cancer Goodbye, I did Rip It Out with him. He was super complimentary of my playing, loves jamming with me. So Ace knows. And, I've gotten calls in the past where if so-and-so couldn't make a show, Ace knows where to find me. He knows, all his management knows. Ace and I are really tight. He's great. He knows I'd love to play with him, but that's Scotty's gig. I love Scotty. He's a great player, great singer, and a great dude. So that's his gig to cherish as long as he wants it.
Very cool. Right on. In the time that we have left on, I want to kick it back over to you. If there was any final questions that you wanted to ask Joey before we kick it up to Angel for the final spin around.
I really do. All right. First of all, I want to get this bad boy autographed.
You got it, of course. I'm sure we'll see each other soon.
I saw Joey. It's been a while since I saw you out.
It has, yeah.
And I love, because I saw them with Eric Martin, who I love. And Joey's an amazing drummer. He fits in wherever. And so I feel like that's the last time I saw you, right? Was with Eric Martin.
Well, it's funny. Eric and we were actually just texting with Eric earlier today. He's on the road, but things are in the work. You'll see the knuckleheads from New Jersey with Eric Martin again, I'm sure soon. Sooner than you think, maybe.
I saw Eric Martin last year. I actually stalked the alley, and he came out and he hung out with me and all. He's a super nice guy. And but you weren't drumming then, and I'm like, where's Joey Cassata? Like, and PJ Farley, and because I love Steve Brown, and he's like, don't you worry, So I'm excited for that, if that's gonna happen. But yeah, I definitely want to get my book signed because this just came last. I'm gonna read some of it tonight. My new book.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you could read it and give me a real review, and then I'll sign. You got to read it first.
Yeah, I'm gonna read a couple chapters tonight. Yeah, instead of going on Amazon and ordering hundreds of dollars worth of shit that I have, and I'm surprised in the morning because I have like insomnia. I'm gonna read Joey's book.
But you know what? That's what's so great about self-publishing and being on Amazon. I do a lot of stuff through Amazon. All my merch is on Amazon. If you type in Joey Cassata, you're going to get flooded with a lot of stuff. There's even episodes of Wrestling with Joey Licious on Prime right now. So Amazon is always great. I try to tell, entrepreneurs and musicians and writers, it's a one-stop shopping. Like you just said, Dawn, you might be on Amazon looking for a wrench or a cleaning supply or, a new blanket or a pillow, whatever you're looking for. You can get other stuff in the cart as well. That's why just throw my name up on Amazon and throw a book in next time you're ordering, stuff for the summer or new patio furniture. Throw a book in, throw a T-shirt in. It's easy one-stop shopping.
So I wanted to have this book for tonight. I typed it in. I literally got like the next day because I know you have the audio, and I love that about you. But I'm actually in the middle of moving to Center City. I'm going back, so I'm gonna have like a podcast room again. So I like to have the actual book because now I have actually all of your books. So I'll have them like on a shelf. So I like to display them for my room. So I'm more like hands on, but you could do audio too. Is that Steve Prescott?
Hi.
Hi, Steve.
Nice of you to join us, Steve.
Thank you for joining in the Metal Summit. You missed my whole stripping of my shirt that we talked about.
It's all right. I already got texted about it. People told me.
I got this, and I got this, so I'm all good.
I'm just impressed. I'm sitting on a rainbow. How are you?
Welcome to the Metal Summit.
Thank you. Could I just explain to everybody how much I love Joey? Did I tell you this?
Wait.
Joey's my hero.
I
No,
think
tell
you.
us. Tell us.
I think you cut out. Can you say that 3 or 4 more times?
Absolutely. I want to be you for Halloween because I love you, Joey Cassata. And I'm
What
going
do
to
you
put it
love
on
so
the
much about
record.
Joey? Why?
Why? Because most Italians are more handsome than Jewish people. So I just want to let you know that. Most, not all.
Wow.
Okay.
Now, do you
See,
say gravy or
obviously,
sauce?
Steve has lost some bets in the past that
Yes,
he has to pay up on.
exactly. So here's looking up your address. There you go.
So you're saying Italians are better looking than Jewish people?
Some, not all, because some have the schnoz and some have the,
Whoa!
you know.
Wait, I think the Italians and the Jews, we both have the schnoz, right?
Yeah, isn't it the story? Like, I don't know what was it? There's a famous comedian that just said, you know, we're basically the same company, just different branches or something,
Probably
something like
true.
that. Yeah, something like that. So,
Aw,
sorry I'm late, but better late than never. So,
exactly.
so I just wanted to say Mazel Tov, Joseph, to your new book.
I
Very,
Oh,
don't
very
know. What does that mean again?
Mazel Tov means congratulations.
Oh,
Oh my God, you're freaking.
I don't know what the hell you're doing. I'm going to break some glasses now. I don't know what your customs
Yeah,
are. I don't know what
we're
we're
gonna
doing
step
here.
on a glass and say Mazel Tov, and I'm gonna jump the broom too.
Whoa, what's going on up here? What's happening right during
Huh,
the show here?
huh.
That's,
That's
that's my
that
beautiful
is.
lady.
I was just about to say that is Jay's lady. So,
hi. I
so,
have a
but I
question
wanted to
for Joey.
congratulate you on the book. I did not order it yet, but I do have a question about the book because
Yes.
I know how to read. I was surprised you knew how to write. But the question I had about the book is, since it's about the elder, and we all talked about the elder, I'm sure, as we know, that is the worst selling Kiss album to
Underrated,
date,
yeah.
unfortunately, and very underrated. Agreed. Um, is it like, as far as in how the movie they were supposed to come out with, like each chapter is like one chapter is called Under the Rose, one's called Just the Boy, one's
So,
called I.
it's some of them. So,
Okay.
the book, the pacing of the book is the pacing of the record.
Okay.
And the original track listing, which is kind of is what we did when we did it live.
Right.
It's the original track listing is there. Some of the chapters are named after song titles. Some aren't. Obviously, there's I think 45 chapters. So there's only 10 songs on the record. So obviously there's a lot of stuff in between, but it did give me a nice roadmap when I started writing. Usually I would say a book probably takes double the time that it took me to write this. But because I had the roadmap, which was literally really just the songs, kind of telling this very loose, vague story, I based it off that song map. So yeah, I used the order of the songs kind of
Okay.
to guide me along the story.
Nice. And what names did you use for Just the Boy?
So again, there's no Kiss name direct names in this book. They're
Okay.
all it's copywritten. It's
Right.
I can't use all of those characters and the real story. So it's all inspired by them. But if you're a Kiss fan, there are hundreds of Kiss Easter eggs littered through this book that I'm sure when you hear, for instance, I'll just give you a quick one. So even like the cover, there's a character right
Right.
there. So his name, obviously, he's a fox, and his name is Ferric in the book. So
Awesome.
obviously, we probably know who he's based on. It's his name is not Eric, it's Ferric, and he's a fox. So again, it's very it's the concept is all there based on all of these Kiss lores and the Kiss world, but with using my own characters.
Okay. I respect that. Yeah, because Gene's lawyers, we know love and love them. So
No, of course, and you know what? Listen, I'm sure if I had to reach out and I would have gotten permission, I probably could have gotten the permission, maybe, but I didn't want it. I wanted it to be a unique story. I didn't want it to only be for Kiss fans because it's
right.
not a story. This story is absolutely, of course it's inspired by the Elder, but I just had a great review. I'll post it tomorrow. Someone who just finished the audiobook, they said it's a cross between Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and Harry Potter. And that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted it to be a universal fantasy story for anyone. You know, the concept that Gene came up with for the Elder, it's a very easy concept. It's the story of the Bible. It's the story of Luke Skywalker. It's the story of Frodo. It's the same thing. It's the prophecy. It's good against evil, dark against light. It's the age old coming of age. The boy or the hero, if you want to call him, comes into the prophecy to battle the Dark One at the end of the saga. So it's a very generic story, which pretty much all stories are based on. Like I said, religion and Star Wars and all these big epic fantasy epics that we know of are all based on the same kind of concept. So that's kind of where the book sits. But if you are a Kiss fan, like I said, there are hundreds of little Kiss Easter eggs that it's almost my favorite part. People emailing me saying, "Oh my God, I just got to the part where blah, blah, blah happened. This is brilliant how you put this reference of this character in this part." So it's a fun read.
Awesome.
I'm excited about it. I have some trivia, so I did my homework. Do you know what year The Elder came out, was released?
1981.
Damn, Joey.
I mean, I just wrote a whole book
Not you,
inspired by
them.
it. I better know what goddamn year the
It
album came
wasn't
out.
for you, it was for them, the Metal
Oh.
Summit.
Oh,
All
I'm
right,
sorry.
Damn.
Who you could
I
ask
knew you
Jay.
knew
I know
that.
Jay wouldn't know, and I know Angel might not know. I definitely would know.
Of course I would know.
Okay, what number album is The Elder?
All right, so we go Kiss.
No,
Hold on.
don't Google it.
No, hold
What
on.
No,
number
I'm not. I'm
album
counting on
is
my
The Elder?
hand. I'm using
Are
my
we
hands.
counting
I'm
the solo
counting. Hold
album?
on.
Hold on. Are we
I
counting
know
the solo
Joey knows
albums?
this.
So yeah,
Right,
you have to count the solo albums. You got first
So that's-
Kiss.
Are you
The first-
counting double? Are you counting double platinum? Are you
11.
counting
I
the
did my
live
homework.
albums?
Yeah, you have to count double out. You have to count those. Kiss Alive, Kiss Alive 2. You got Hotter Than Hell. You got Kiss. So you got Kiss, then Hotter Than Hell, Just to Kill. Then you got. Oh my God. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna say 13th.
I'm going to say 11th studio.
I'll guess, but I don't know what you're counting. I'll guess 16th.
I did some homework. I looked up The Elder because I want to read about it because it's like underrated. So like a lot of people
Great
don't
album.
know about it. But I wanted to read about it because I want to read the book and everything. So well, yes, 1981, which Joey knew. It's the 9th album, the 9th. It said 9th.
Oh, okay.
But again, if you're counting all the Kiss records,
Right.
you're counting the first 3 studio records, you're counting the first live record. Then the next 3 studio records, you're already up to 7.
Yeah.
Then you're
Right.
talking the next live record is 8.
This
Then
is 9.
then you're talking 4 solo albums, which is 12. You're talking Dynasty and Unmasked, which is 14. Double Platinum's 15. Technically, The Elder's 16.
Yeah, like if
I
I
don't know,
if I
mine
was
says 9, I don't
answering
know.
if I was answering the question just as like a Kiss fan, but just not on the like elite level that like Joey, you, and Steve and stuff are.
I'm not
Like
elite
I
either.
would have been close. I either would have hit it or I would have been either like one off in either direction because like I mean I don't. They're Kiss albums, of course, but like I look at things as studio albums versus like other albums, and this isn't and I've heard all the like the talk about Kiss Alive, and the details behind that being pressed and the recordings when it came to that, but like I look at it as like studio albums. So yeah, me personally, if I was like going through, or it was like Kiss and Love Gun and Detroit Rock City and Dynasty and all that kind of stuff, as I'm moving up the gamut to towards The Elder, I would have been looking at it studio albums wise. I personally wouldn't have taken the Alives and the 4 solos into consideration.
Right.
Me neither. I think they slipped this in, but it's very underrated. That's why.
Yeah,
it's a great album.
But not anymore because Joey Cassata has a book out now. So
it's so funny because I just at this Kiss Cancer Goodbye event back in December, I did the full Creatures of the Night album and the full Elder album, and online I think we're up to over 3 million views I think that someone told me the other day on both of those, whether it's you, on social media, YouTube, all that stuff. We're up to almost 3 million views. I think someone told me the other day, and
Wow.
that's more than both of those records sold
Ever,
combined,
yeah.
which is so funny. People, it's funny. Like the Elder didn't do well, but the live versions that we did got such a great response because no one's ever heard anyone do them live before. They were so overproduced with this orchestration that if you strip them down, it's a great record.
Yeah, because
I
Bob
have a
Ezrin
question for
produced
you.
it.
I have a question for you. Did you send this book to Kiss?
No, I didn't. They know where I am. I'm sure they've heard of it by now. I don't just send my stuff to them. I don't want to send it. No.
I will.
Were you ever in consideration for Jericho's Quarantine album, Joey?
Funny enough. So, trust me, we Chris and I go back and forth about this. I give them shit all the time because he knows.
That's why I wanted to ask.
80s Kisses, my Kiss. I'm actually doing 2 shows with them coming up at the end of May. I think it's May 30th and May 31st. I'm doing 2 shows with Quarantine. I don't know where they are. Maybe Wisconsin and God, I'm not sure, but they'll be advertised really soon. But Chris, funny enough, the drummer for Quarantine is the drummer for Luke Bryan. His name is Kent, and he's an incredible drummer. Him and the guitar player Joe McGinnis were the ones that formed Quarantine during COVID.
Right.
So, it was impossible for me to be in quarantine when the drummer formed Quarantine. So, but I give them shit all the time. I tease them so much. I played a couple shows with Quarantine before. I played with them on the Kiss cruise. Kent knows if he's on tour with Luke Bryan, which he is in May, which is why he can't play with them. I'm the next guy in line.
Oh, right on, man. Absolutely. Angel, let me kick it over to you, brother.
Just want to say, man, thank you so much for your time. I know we said 45 minutes, but somebody jumped in at the 45th minute.
Nah, it's all right. I got another 10 minutes if you guys want.
Cool.
It's bedtime. We're good. I'm just kidding.
Hey, no worries, Joey. We'll definitely take we'll definitely take 10. Let me jump in real quick, Angel, because in that time there is a question that I want to ask Joey, because I feel like we honestly wouldn't be doing our jobs properly if we didn't discuss this. And Joey, I'd love to hear you speak a little bit on, for lack of a better term, the reformation of ZO2 with Sean. And Sean, I love Sean personally. I mean, from the album he did with Quiet Riot, the stuff he's done with Lynch Mob, Great White, etc., etc., etc. And the times that I've met him, he's always been so genuine and so sweet. He's always treated me like one of his family. So I personally love Sean McNabb quite a bit. But I would love for you to speak a little bit on the lack of a better term, like I said, reformation of ZO2 for the sake of your fans and our fans watching that are curious.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, ZO2, we lost our bass player who was also our singer's brother, David Z, in a tragic car accident. God, it was 2017 now. He was on the road with Adrenaline Mob, and there was a car accident side of the road, and unfortunately we lost David, and it was tragic beyond belief, not only to the band, but obviously Paulie's his brother. And it's never something we would have ever imagined doing again. We never thought ZO2 could function in any way without David. It was the 3 of us, or it was none of us. And especially with the 2 brothers, they were inseparable, fighting like brothers, but they created everything. So it's very hard to imagine after all those years that we were ever going to do something again. And when we decided to do something, it was really just to honor David. We wanted to make sure that people didn't forget us. People didn't forget the music. They didn't forget all the stuff, the great stuff we did over the years. So we wind up putting just one concert together just to kind of maybe say goodbye. We didn't know what we were doing. And, we were originally going to have all guest bass players because David was beloved by everyone in the industry. He was the touring member of Trans-Siberian Orchestra for 15 years. So everyone and anyone knew David that was in the industry. So, we started reaching out to bass players to come up and do one song with us. We were going to have a rotating cast of bass players. And Mark Mendoza from Twisted Sister, who was always really close to us, really good to us, always loved the band, loved David. And, he was like, please, I would love to do the whole show with you. And, we were floored. I'm a massive Twisted Sister fan. So to hear, one of these legends want to do the show with us to honor David, we couldn't pass that opportunity up. So, we did the one show with Mark, and it was phenomenal, and it was emotional, and I didn't think Paulie was going to get through it. And, after that, we didn't think we were going to do another one, but we kind of got the spark after that show to, the music still lived and the music was still great and the energy was still there. So, we decided to try to do something again, just local stuff and a little run here, a little run there, maybe do a new record in the future. And, Paulie living on the West Coast, Mark just couldn't be the guy because we needed Paulie to kind of work with the bass player on a daily basis for a little while. And Mark would have loved to do it, and we would have loved to have him, but it just wouldn't have worked out schedule-wise, just because everyone was too far away from each other. So, we recruited Sean McNabb, who is, you mentioned some of his work, unbelievable bass player, super professional in the industry. He's one of those guys that everyone calls when they need a great bass player, and we approached him, and he kind of approached us back, and it just was a match made in heaven. It was perfect. We put together a compilation record with all the old greatest hits, and we also did some new songs and a couple brand new ones, even with Sean on bass, which came out last year on Killer Records. It was called Begin Again. So it was amply titled and properly titled, and hopefully it'll spark some more stuff in the near future.
Absolutely. No, 100%. And, like I said, like you said, I mean, Sean's absolutely fantastic. And it's so great to see that music live on, like you said, so it doesn't just become like, hey, I did this amazing band once. You have the ability to say, hey, I still do music with this amazing band. As people learn about the details of members, that's for them to discover. But for the band to still be what you would call active is incredibly important. And I think it's important to you, assuming I'm correct there, it's definitely important to us as fans. So I think that, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to ask you about it, is because it's like, I love the band. I love the players and the guys. And like I said, like I was familiar with ZO2 for quite a while. I was a fan of Z-Rock. I got to know David actually very well because I was a fan of Rubik's Cube.
Wow.
And
yeah.
They always took such a good care of me. Like Scott and Sherry were so wonderful. It's funny because I'd met Steve Brown a few years later. Well, I'd met him through Trickster. I was aware of him being involved in Rubik's Cube, but I never saw him with Rubik's Cube when I was getting into Rubik's Cube. I've seen him since in the band.
Right.
But I went to see Rubik's Cube because I had learned that, well, this guy Steve from Trickster was involved in the band, and the bass player of Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which when I realized was David Z, when I was already a fan of your band, I was like, oh, well, I gotta go. And the band just always treated me so well. Everybody in that band was so cool and so nice. They hung out with the fans. They took every picture and just kind of rocked out. So, David and I just gelled over the years thanks to Rubik's Cube, and I was able to check him out. And he actually took really good care of me and my mom when I wanted to take her to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I knew how popular David was, and I knew that sometimes it's hard to get in touch with him just because on Messenger and stuff before I had his number. I reached out to Sherry. Sherry got in touch with David, and he was like, oh, this is for his mom. I got him covered. So he was such a genuine human being, and I'm so super stoked that, the music is continuing on.
That's a great story. That's just who David was. Yeah, great story.
Oh, no, absolutely. Our beloved Psycho Steve, let me kick it down to you, man, as we start our final go-around.
All right. I have a very serious question, and not to be glum since we brought up David, but as we know, we lost Eric Carr a long time ago. Did you ever think about when the time happened, before they decided on Eric Singer and before the reunion? Ever think about trying out for KISS since you were in KISS Nation?
No, you got to remember, that's years before. So I'm when
I know you're a lot younger. But
yeah, when Eric passes, I'm only 17 years old, I think, at that point. So
Okay.
Eric passes in 91. So God, I mean, I'm already in bands. I'm trying to get record deals. I'm in the industry, but Kiss is still, gods to me. I'm never thinking, and Kiss is not taking a 17-year-old hotshot drummer. That's for sure. So no, it never even occurred to me to reach out and try to be a member. God, would I've loved it and jumped at the opportunity? Of course I would have. But I don't know if I would have been ready at 17 either. But listen, I got to, I was just telling the guys, I'm going to be jamming with Peter tomorrow night at the Cutting Room.
Oh, yeah.
I never got to jam with Peter before. When I do tomorrow night, hopefully if it all goes through, I'll have jammed with all 4 members of the original Kiss. So it's a pretty cool thing.
Awesome. And then the last and final question: do you have a favorite song off The Elder?
It's so funny, because, when I relearned The Elder to perform it, I had a new appreciation of it. And that's kind of why I wrote this book, because of this newfound love of The Elder. But there's a lot of great songs, but I'll tell you, Only You is probably right. It could change next week, but probably right now, my favorite song on The Elder.
Gotcha. Mine's I.
I was just gonna say that.
I was talking
Yeah, I
to
mean,
Dawn about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
As a kid, I was always my favorite. It's just it's
I
a
listened to it,
perfect
Steve.
anthem. Yeah.
It's pretty.
awesome. Okay.
Right.
Back
on.
to you, Jay.
No, absolutely, for sure. Angel, why don't you let me kick it over to you if there's anything final that you have to say or any questions that you want to ask or anything for the Metal Summoners. With Dawn being the guest of the episode, we'll let her ask the final question before I take us out.
Man,
I don't have any questions, but
No worries. Totally cool.
Man, this was freaking awesome. Can't really thank you enough for giving us your time.
Oh, dude, thank you. You guys are the best, except for Steve, of course, but you guys are great. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. Honor to be on.
No, thank you so much, Joey. Really appreciate you. You've mentioned it throughout. You've mentioned it where you've mentioned throughout the episode where your books and stuff can be found. But I want to circle that back around. So if you can please let everybody know where like your books, your merch, and your socials and stuff where you can be found for the fans.
Absolutely. Hold it up, Dawn. The new book is The Order of the Rose. You can get it on Amazon right now. It's on hardcover. It's on softcover. It's on Kindle. It's on audiobook. Just type in my name, Joey Cassata, or The Order of the Rose on Amazon. It'll pop up. If you have Prime, you could literally get it tomorrow. That's how fast they deliver. I'm also selling autographed copies. I'm online on Facebook, on Instagram, at Joey Cassata. Just check me out. Shoot me a PM. I'm selling autographed copies direct. I'll personalize it, whatever you guys want. And basically all my stuff you can find either on Amazon. Check out some of my stuff on YouTube. The Elder Performance, the Creatures of the Night performance we just did recently. It's all on YouTube. Just type in Joey Cassata and you'll see probably way too much of me. And, stuff like Z-Rock we talked about and Wrestling with Joey Licious. All that stuff is all on my YouTube page. Go check it out and dive down the rabbit hole.
I got a question for you.
What
You
do you got?
ready? I'm Italian. Is it gravy or sauce?
Well, it's so fun. Growing up, it was always gravy.
Yeah.
Growing up, my mom always called it gravy.
It's all gravy in my house.
But it's become sauce over the years for me. But it was always gravy growing up.
Ooh.
Right on.
Wow. In my household, it's gravy no matter what.
Steve doesn't even know what we're talking about. Look at him.
No clue. But I love you. Did I say that before?
What the hell is she talking about?
He's like, matzo ball soup? What are you guys talking about? What's happening here?
Exactly. Gravy goes on turkey, everybody. Sauce is what it is, okay? Or the legend, and let him rest in peace, John Reagan used to tell me it was ragu.
Ragu.
What?
That's Italy. I think they call it ragu. We think of ragu as that instant sauce crap. But
right.
in Italy, I think they did call it ragu.
Right.
Now my household was always gravy because I'm Italian. But if you use meat, it's one way. If you use it's just different ways. Puttanesca, whatever. But yeah, I always wanted to ask Joey: is it gravy or sauce?
It's both.
Nice.
Either way, it's delicious.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. And Joey, totally appreciate, man. I look forward to getting to actually meet you officially, hopefully sometime in the near future. You're also the one signature that's currently missing off of all of my ZO2 records.
Oh my God, dude. We gotta meet up.
So we definitely need to make that a thing. But we really, really appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for your time this evening. On behalf of myself, Angel, and Steve, of course, when it comes to the Metal Summit, and on behalf of Dawn as well, when it comes to her being a part of this episode, the most important thing that's always the value to us is that you had a good time. You enjoyed yourself. You felt respected. You enjoyed the questions that were asked, and you felt that if in any way this was beneficial to your continued success.
Guys, again, thank you so much for having me. If anyone's not busy tomorrow night in New York City, come down to the Cutting Room. There's going to be a spectacular event. Rick Allen from Def Leppard is hosting the Raven Drum Foundation. It's going to be so much fun. Tons of guest stars. Like I said, I'll be jamming with Peter throughout the night, so it's going to be a really great show. Come down, Cutting Room in New York City.
The only way I'm going is if you take me to Prince Street Pizza, or I'm not coming.
Prince is it's not close to there. It's too far.
My girlfriend just took me there. Oh my God, it's delicious. All right. Well, get the book, everybody. Get the book.
There you go.
I love you, Joey Cassata.
Get the book. Absolutely. Metal
No,
Summoners.
it's
Thank
Joey Cassata.
Metal Summoners, thank you guys so much. Everybody that participated. What's up there, Mad Shad? Appreciate you popping on. Lisa, Brian, everybody who popped on tonight to show us some love and support. We really appreciate you guys. On behalf of Joey Cassata, we really appreciate him. Guys, you heard it from him. Every social, everywhere that you can find everything he's involved in, he let you know where it was. So make sure that you guys are checking him out, following him, subscribing to his YouTube channel, and checking him out live tomorrow night. You can find Angel Alamo at Angel Alamo 78 on Instagram. You can also find him on Facebook as well. Psycho Steve can be found at The Real Psycho Steve on Instagram. You can also follow him at PsychoStevePresents.com, and he's right here with us, of course. We appreciate Dawn spending a little bit of time out of her evening to rock out with us. You can find her on Instagram at Hey All You Rockers. For myself, you can find me on Instagram as well at Salem.vampire, and I can also be found on Facebook as well. But on behalf of the entire Metal Summit, again, we want to thank Joey Cassata for spending some of his evening with us. Make sure you guys are hanging out, checking him out, following the music, buying the book, supporting live music, and getting out there and just enjoying yourselves. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much as well for all of you Metal Summoners that jumped in on our doubleheader today. We really appreciate you guys. We will see you guys in a week. The guest announcement comes out over the weekend, and we will see you guys right before we all go out to M3 to kick it. Myself and Angel will be there. We know that Dawn and Steve will be there in spirit, as well as Joey will be there in spirit as an M3 alumnus. Thank you so much, Metal Summoners. Take care of yourselves. We will see you guys in a week. Thank you to Dawn. Thank you to Steve. Thank you to Joey.